Louisiana's Governor Bobby Jindal blasting BP and the feds for failing to act fast enough to protect the state's coastline from a massive undersea oil leak. Meantime, the Interior Secretary Ken Salazar says the government will push, his words, push out BP if the spill response falls short.
I am angry and I am frustrated that BP has been unable to stop this well from leaking and to stop the pollution from spreading. We are 33 days into this effort, and deadline after deadline has been missed.
Salazar visited BP's U.S. headquarters in Houston this weekend. Hard to believe it's been 33 days. That was yesterday.
How long was
the Mexican?
It was 9 months, the Mexican one from 1979. Yeah. That spill, which is very closely mimicked this one, except for that spill was only down about 160 feet versus the 5,000 feet that this one is.
It's going to have huge consequences for us as a country, because we were just on the verge of actually doing something constructive in energy policy, which is to stop buying foreign oil and start producing American. And this is obviously going to contract that effort significantly, and it should, until we can make sure we can get this right on these open ocean drilling situations. But we do at least have this massive discovery of shale gas, and hopefully we can use that, and that could free us up a little bit from foreign control.
Before I get to this next, personally, I had one question for you about FinReg. One last one to ask you. Is it a worse bill because of what it doesn't cover, or is it, in your view, a bad bill because of the unintended consequences of what it does do?
Well, I think the consumer language and the derivatives language, if they actually go enforced in their present form, are going to create massive problems.
Hurt. And then it leaves out things you'd like
to do underwriting reform is significant, and the failure to take on Freddie and Fannie is almost malfeasance of a criminal level by the Congress. I mean, the fact that we would leave on the table, well, it's like having a room and not having an elephant in it, but having the entire herd in it and saying the herd doesn't exist. And they are our big problem. As taxpayers, they are our big problem. $500 billion of potential liability.
Is it too complicated, or is it just...
It's not too complicated. It's just politically beyond the capacity.
What do you mean politically beyond the capacity?
Because the Freddie and Fannie have massive political influence and still have it in the Congress. And the problem was created by the Congress. It was the Congress that told Freddie and Fannie to radically expand their securitization efforts. It was the Congress which said, forget your standards, go out there and lend to anybody who wants a home and securitize it for them. And that was purely the initiative of the Congress. In 2005, Richard Shelby brought to the floor a reform package which, had it passed at the time, would have avoided almost all the problems we have in Freddie and Fannie. It was defeated, basically on a party line vote, because there was a desire to have a public policy which said go out and lend money and then securitize it. Tell the banking industry you can lend to anybody who comes in the door, because we want everybody to own a home, even if they can't afford it.
By dealing with it now, they're afraid of stirring up the old memories of...
No, by dealing with it now, they step on turf that they still believe is viable, which is that everybody should have the capacity to have a home. There is still an attitude in the Congress which says that we should be pushing out lending to just about anybody who wants a home.
You think that still exists?
Oh, absolutely. There's no question about that.
If that's true, it must be dying quickly.
No, it's still the philosophy of the majority party in the Congress, which is that you want a robust initiative in the area of real estate, and specifically you want to have the capacity to lend to people even if they are below credit risk or their value of their asset does not meet the value of the loan.
But not everyone should. You of all people want to spread the wealth around. I mean, you don't understand this?
My only point is that we are in a different...
You deserve a house.
And
you're going to double down.
And you're saying the Congress is not...
No,
I should live in Potter's Field. You should have one of those nice George Bailey homes.
That's right. And they're going to double down on this in this bill, because they're going to do what they did in what we've done in real estate. They're now going to do in consumer credit with the Consumer Credit Agency. I mean, basically, this Consumer Credit Agency is going to become an agency of social policy. It's going to become the social justice agency versus a lender of an agency which protects the consumer from predatory credit activity. It's going to rather, I suspect, become... You listen to the people who have designed this agency, and basically their theme was people should be able to get credit if they're in certain social groups or if they're in certain economic straits, independent of the safety and soundness of having the banking industry actually lend to them.
But who gets the final say on that? Does the Federal Reserve, as the regulator, get the final say?
Absolutely not. The way this is set up in this bill, the consumer agency is almost entirely independent.
So I can go to a specific bank and say, you will make this loan?
You can get the consumer agency to say, banks must make loans to this social group or this economic group or make it in this way, and the banking regulator, the prudential regulator, the Fed or the OCC, will be virtually incapable of saying, but that's going to negatively impact my banks, because if they make those loans, they're probably not going to be paid back, or they're going to be paid back at less than fair value. And that's going to undermine the safety and sound of the system. And that argument is going to be divorced completely from the actual initiative for lending. Because this is not about lending for the purposes of having strong credit and good credit going out. It's about lending to accomplish a social justice purpose. That's what the Consumer Agency is all about. This is a massive expansion on the agenda of the left in the area of domestic industrial policy.
All right, we will talk more with Senator Gregg, but we want